What if leadership wasn't about having the answers right now? What if we felt okay saying, we can't really see everything, and allowed ourselves not to know the solution in the moment? I'm Carmel Riley, and this is CRSE, Can't Really See Everything, a podcast for people who see complexity all around them, who want to embrace it, or support those affected by it, or actually scream at the frustration that others cannot seem to keep things simple. In this podcast, growth gets messy. We let lived experience and best practice dance together to emerge with new understanding. And together, we'll hold space for a journey towards clarity through the courage of not knowing exactly how we'll get there. However you need to show up today, always within a framework of safety and respect, you are welcome here. It's been a few weeks since my last episode, the one where I shared my message to the coroner in relation to my sibling David's death. Since then, I've received the final coroner's report and the letter confirming that an inquiry would not proceed. The coroner didn't believe further investigation could lead to system recommendations, though to their credit, they have offered to send the report to the Real Estate Institute of Queensland to provide opportunity for reflection and further training and development for the property managers in their membership. In relation to the inquiry, I've been sitting with that quietly, some days with a kind of hollow acceptance, other days with the ache of what if. I've thought about whether to appeal or whether to keep moving forward. After a lot of reflection, I've realised I don't want to keep proving harm. I really want to help prevent it. I've also reflected on the incredible advocacy of groups like Yellow Ladybugs. They've recently submitted to the Disability Discrimination Act review, and I know that their work could be the difference between a coroner's conclusion that stops with nothing more could be done and one that says, here's what could have changed. Therefore, this episode looks forward. Today, I want to share with you what I believe might have made a difference, not in blame, but in practice. There's no guarantees, and this isn't a tested model as yet, but it's a synthesis, a weaving together of theory, science, and lived experience, mine, David's, and so many others who's shared their truths. This is for practitioners, educators, peers, and allies who care for neuro-affirming practice and feel overwhelmed by the complexity. I want you to have a toolkit for right now. David was twice exceptional, deeply intelligent, fiercely just, and devoted to their animals. They were also autistic, ADHD, living with rejection sensitivity, demand avoidance, and long-term mental illness. Every no carried the weight of every past dismissal. And when the system finally said, we can't do that, but we can offer this, David heard a familiar ending, not an invitation to adapt, but another invalidation of identity and invalidation of ideas. They walked away. And I've often wondered, what if that withdrawal wasn't giving up? Or wasn't the burden of self-pride, but actually protecting what little safety remained? That question led me to a new metaphor, the pressure valve. I want you to imagine a dam, solid, purposeful, full of water. That water is self-leadership, the reservoir of energy, choice, and agency that allows us to engage with systems. When too much pressure builds, when autonomy feels stripped or needs are unseen, the system cracks. Walking away is often the body closing an emergency bulkhead to prevent total collapse. Practitioners can't stop that, but they can regulate the environment and support co-regulation of a client. They can become engineers of pressure, scanning for leaks, adjusting language and pacing, protecting that reservoir of hope until the person can re-engage. That's what the 6 neuro-affirming communication habits are all about. Let me walk you through them. They're simple, human, and immediately usable. The first habit is called lead with double curiosity. Be curious about what's being said and about what's not being said. Instead of saying, "We can't do that," try, "It sounds like you've really thought about this. What difference would that make for you?" That one question could reveal an unmet need, like the quiet truth that David's animals were their anchor to life. Habit number 2, assume emotional logic. Every reaction makes sense in context. Rejection sensitivity isn't irrational, it's protective memory. When we see withdrawal, we can choose to read it as safety, not sabotage, not non-compliance. Habit 3, regulate before you relate. You can't problem solve through panic. A calm tone and slower pace are small physiological gifts, signals of safety that make connection possible again. Name limits softly. Systems need boundaries, but truth can still be kind. Instead of saying, "That goes against our policy," say, "I wish this rule were different. It doesn't seem fair. Let's talk about what we can hold on to together." That small moment of empathy protects dignity. The fifth habit is to design a gentle re-entry. If someone walks away, assume they'll need safety to come back. Say, "It's okay to take space. I'll leave the door open so we can pick up from here." Then, a moment later, a few days later, send a soft text. No pressure to reply, letting you know I've kept Thursday open if you'd like to continue. And habit 6, document dignity. How we write about people shapes how the next person sees them. Instead of writing something like, "Client became upset and left," you could write, "Client needed space when options didn't align with their values. Reconnection is possible when ready." That's what dignity can look like in data. These 6 habits won't appear overnight for practitioners. They grow through courageous complexity in practice, my maturity model for practitioner development. At first, we simply notice cause and effect. Our words change the nervous system state in the room. Then we learn to see patterns, that rupture is feedback, not failure, not non-compliance. With time, we translate that insight into skill, holding both truth and compassion. Eventually, we adapt fluidly under pressure, and finally, we integrate, modelling this relational safety at a systems level. It's not about endless empathy. It's about precision under pressure. That's the courage of complexity, learning to hold uncertainty without closing the door on hope. There's no guarantees that these principles would have changed the outcome for David, but I believe deeply that they could change outcomes for others. Hope is not a personality trait. It's a system design outcome, and language is the engineering tool. When we plan for rupture instead of reacting to it, when we document humanity instead of blame, and when we keep the door visible, even when someone walks away, we become part of the structure that holds people in possibility. That's what courageous complexity in practice means. It's the courage to stay curious, to regulate instead of rescue, and to keep hope alive, even when the system says there's nothing more to be done. If this resonates, you can download the Pressure Valve 6 Neuro-Affirming Habits poster or read my full article on LinkedIn. I'm Carmel Riley, and this is CRSE, Can't Really See Everything. Thank you for listening and being part of the slow, quiet revolution where systems become safety. Before you leave today, I am honoured to share with you the heartbreaking and beautiful song written by Ronnie Shewan, titled Song for D.
I don't know what to say to you, or how you came to think this through. I know that there is nothing done. They stacked the system against you, made the cracks you fell into